Hello, everyone. I'm Dijon,
And I'm Amir.
and welcome to the Mustacast, the podcast about the art of storytelling and how it's used across different mediums. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see our channel grow, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. As usual, Amir, you can start with media you can see me.
I've been. I finally watched Love and Thunder. It was interesting. I have been catching up on She-Hulk, which I am now fully caught up. Still no Daredevil, so slightly irritated with that, but still watching. Enjoying it more than I think I was. Um, Watching Andor, which is great. Uh, I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos. Been watching a lot of Nexpo. Very good YouTuber. Everybody should watch him. Great editing, by the way. But Nexpo is probably one of the best, or like one of the YouTubers with the best editing I think I've seen on the platform in a very long time. I've been watching a ridiculous amount of Game of Thrones. Of course, I've been watching House of the Dragon, but Game of Thrones has been like my bread and butter these past couple weeks. So much so that as it has begun to get colder, I've begun quoting Game of Thrones, not even intentionally, and the only one of my friends that I speak to every day is Tyler. He's the only one that like understands any of my references. Um, but yeah, that's mostly it. I've also been reading House of Leaves, which is a very, 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 very good horror novel. Um, it's an experimental type of novel. So it's kind of hard to explain, but like it's a must read. It is very good. And I think that is about it. Uh, Give me 1 second to think about it. Oh, I watched Cyberpunk Edgerunners.
Good.
Um,
Well, let's save that. We're going to talk about that later.
I've been playing more Cyberpunk, and I think that's about it. I've been playing a lot of Magic the Gathering as well, which is a very fun card game that I feel like everybody should get into, primarily because I only have like two friends who play. So I need more people to play Magic. So everyone should play Magic. That's it.
So, for me, I've been watching Primal season two. So, season two ended not too long ago, a few weeks ago at this point, and Primal's really good. It's by Genny Tartakovsky, creator of Samurai Jack and Dexter's Lab. And yeah, it's just as quiet as Samurai Jack in terms of very little dialogue, a lot of sounds of nature. It's about a caveman named I think his name is Spear, and a dinosaur named Feng, and it's them trying to survive this prehistoric world. And what I love about that season two of Primal is that it takes a very different approach and um gets into the other like humans in that world. And there's like Vikings and this like Egyptian conqueror. It's really dope. It gets very very interesting in season two. I think I like season two more than the first season. The first season's really good though. And there's these couple episodes that feel like God of War that made me go, oh my god, I would love to see Genny Tartakovsky do it like an adaptation of the God of War franchise in animation. I feel like that would be amazing. I finally started watching Rebels again. And the last episode I watched was like one of the best episodes of Rebels I've ever seen in my life. It was the episode where Thrawn is trying to find out who the spy is in the Empire, and that episode was so good with Agent Callus trying to like throw him off his trail. It was amazing, and I was like, okay, I'm back into this show. And I think did I finish? The episode after that was the one with Mon Mothma, and I'm on the episode after that one. But yeah, Rebels has been great. I'm almost done with season three, and then I'll finally finish up that show, which I've been procrastinating on watching for a long time. Another show I got back into on Disney Plus is Avengers: Earth Mightiest Heroes. The arc I left off on was it was around the getting towards the end of the first season. And it was an episode with like Malekith and like the casket of endless winters or whatever, leading up to the arc directly after that was a 2 episode Ultron arc that was pretty good. And then up until till the big Loki arc because Loki was the first villain for the Avengers in the comics, so he's always like the big villain at the beginning of their stories in most adaptations. Um, and it turns out like he was the person who caused all the things that happened throughout the entire first season, which was pretty dope. And it set up the scroll arc that I know happens in season two because I haven't seen the entirety of season two when I was a kid, but I saw some of it. But was it Tucker Dale versus Evil is a film. That's kind of like a subversion of early 2000s horror movies. I saw it a long time ago, but I could barely remember it. And now, as I was rewatching, I was like, oh, I've seen this before because I didn't think that I did. But there were a couple scenes that I saw. I was like, I remember these scenes vividly from when I first watched this. But it's kind of like a deconstruction of movies like the early 2000s were full of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre inspired horror films, as well as a couple Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes, where like the hillbillies are the murderers. And in this, the hillbillies are just regular people trying to like enjoy their vacation, but a bunch of like college kids going out to camp mistake them for killers and ended up getting themselves killed and it makes it look like the hillbillies are the killers, but they aren't. It's very funny, and it stars what's his name? I'm mad I forgot his name. Let me look it up real quick. Uh, it stars what is his name? Alan Tudyk. Is who is his name? If you know who he is. Uh, let's see. I finally beat Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge with my little brother. After we beat it, we ended up playing arcade mode with our dad, and that was really fun. That game is amazing. It makes me want that same studio to make a Power Rangers beat 'em up. Because I'm starting to get really I'm starting to like some beat 'em up games. I might try out Streets of Rage. I might get that and play that with my brothers. Because my other brother recently hit me up and said that he wanted to come and play Turtles with us. So I was like, you know what? We should play Streets of Rage together. Streets of Rage 4, the most recent one. Uh, but yeah, there's a boss fight with Shredder that has a dope song by Raekwon and Ghostface from the Wu Tang Clan, and it is amazing. It took me. The thing is, I listened to the song before the game came out because they released it, and I was like, "Oh, this is cool. This is in the game," and I forgot about it. And then the Shredder boss fight starts around the end of the game, and that song starts playing, and I'm like, "Hey, yo!" Like I always say, hip hop and kung fu are the best combo since cereal and milk. Since you don't like peanut butter or jelly, but yeah, that's all I got in terms of media I'm assuming. But now we can talk about Cyberpunk Edge Runners in the animation section. So what did you think about it?
I liked it a lot. It reminded me a lot of Samurai Champloo, Cowboy Bebop, and Trigun, which are three of my favorite anime of all time. So I did very much so enjoy Edgerunners.
Yeah, for me it was
Um,
like Studio Trigger's previous animated movie Promare kind of combined with Ghost in the Shell. That's what it felt like to me.
but I enjoyed it very much. It did depress me, not nearly as much as the original game depressed me, but it did result in some existential staring at my ceiling at night. But other than that, I liked it a lot. I was very late hopping onto the Edgerunners train because I wasn't really excited for it. Um, but no, I liked it a lot. It did a lot more for me than I thought it was going to.
It did a lot more
Yeah,
for
no,
the
it was
entire
pretty good.
game.
I didn't hear any of that.
I was saying it did a lot more for the entire game.
Yeah, it brought back a lot of players, which I think was great.
It brought back a lot of players and I brought in a bunch of new ones. It actually ended up passing The Witcher 3 in terms of all time like peak concurrent players. I mean, like playing the game at once. So the anime did a lot of good for that game. It brought a lot of people back to it who did either try played it when it came out but didn't like it or heard how it was buggy and wasn't suited to last gen and kind of like decided not to play it. And this kind of brought the people in to play the version of the game that actually is like functioning properly. It actually made me want to play the game a lot. And I don't know if it's still discounted, but it was like they naturally took advantage of this situation and like put it at like 50%, like 50% off or something like that. And naturally, a lot of people jumped on that, and a lot more people are playing it. And I was going to, but I decided not to, and I was like, you know what? I still think it's still not at a point to where I'm like, yeah, I want to play this game, but I think it's gonna get there eventually, and I'll eventually buy it once it's on sale again. Because I think it's definitely gonna be a game that I enjoy, even in the state that it's currently in. I think I would still enjoy it, but I think I might as well just wait for it to get just a little bit more, a little better. But yeah, it's a tale as old as time. It's a kid beat down by the system, turns to a life of crime. but plastered on the backdrop of Night City and the sci-fi classism that is, the cyberpunk genre. So it's fun. But have you seen Intergalactic on Netflix? The Kid Cudi kind of Spider Verse inspired animated series. Oh, excuse me,
I
animated
didn't know it
movie.
was. I thought
Me
it came out
neither.
in October, and
It is
before I thought
October.
it came out in October, I thought it came out like next year. So every single time I hear about it, it's like the release date is so much closer than I initially assumed, and now apparently it's here, and I had no clue.
Yeah, so it came out on Friday, September 30th. And I watched it because I also didn't know it was coming out because Netflix sucks at advertising their stuff. If it isn't one of their already big properties, they just suck at advertising things. And yeah, I was on Twitter. Somebody said you guys should watch this, and I was like, "Oh, Intergalactic's out," and I watched it, and it was amazing. Like the animation, of course, is gorgeous. It's beautiful. It's in that, like I said, Spider Verse or like arcane art style where it's 3D models with 2D textures and effects, and a lot of painted backgrounds. It's really pretty. It's created and written by Kid Cudi, and it's an adult targeted animated movie, and that's something that we need more of because specifically when it comes to like revolutionary like animation styles like this one. Like whenever we get a revolutionary animation like in the West, it's a kids cartoon. And sure, adults can enjoy it, but it's usually aimed at kids. But because in the West, animation is still not respected as the medium that it is and still treated as a genre for kids. And but Intergalactic is unapologetic unapologetic why can't I say this word? Unapologetically an adult love story. It's a rom com and it's great. You should definitely check it out. And anybody watching, you should definitely check it out, especially if you like Kid Cudi's music. Naturally, his music is in it a lot. And I learned that this is actually low key kind of an ad for an album by the same name that is not a like a it's not a soundtrack like a soundtrack from the movie like just turned into an album. It's like a solo, like it's his album, and like the show was created as like a companion piece, which is very interesting. I've always had a dream of if I was ever a musician that I would do something like that, like make like an animated, like short companion piece to an album. And I think that's dope. The show's good. I haven't listened to the album yet, but I like Kid Cudi, so I'm definitely gonna check it out. You listen to Kid Cudi's music? You like his music?
I don't listen to Kid Cudi. I can think of maybe no, actually, I don't think I like any of his music that I've listened to. I haven't listened to much of it though. It's just stuff that's like popped up on Spotify playlists.
Yeah. If you
I
ever
usually skip it.
if you ever decide to listen to him, I would say Man on the Moon is definitely the album you should listen to. This is his second album, I think. Or it might be his first album, but it's great. A lot of good songs in there. A lot of his biggest hits or most famous hits are on that, like Day and Night. It's great, great album. Moving on to comics. You been reading anything lately?
No. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Nope. I started reading. I decided that I was going to take on the massive undertaking of reading all of the original Spider-Man comics, like every single 616 mainline Spider-Man comics,
I'm
starting all the way
having
back with Missing Fantasy number 15.
yes.
Uh, so it's a massive undertaking, and I got up to Amazing Spider-Man issue 60 something, and then my laptop shattered. So I pretty much lost all my progress in that, which is fun because I still haven't paid for repairs. I'm currently using my brother's gaming PC to like record this on. But yeah, I no, I have not read any comics whatsoever.
Yeah, so I'm struggling to get through the first issue of I start voice cracked, but I'm struggling to get through the first issue of this collection of Frank Miller's Daredevil because it's a Spider-Man crossover, and I'm just comics made before like the '80s. I don't enjoy that the style of writing that they have or the I'm fine with art style. Art style I can enjoy, but I'm not a fan of the style of writing and the way the dialogue is written and the way things are just the stories are structured. Um,
I wholeheartedly agree with that. If a comic, like, if I make like a reading list for a character and a comic is like pre 1980s, I will typically skip it unless it's like super important to the character because I do not want to read that.
Because I also tried to go back and read like the introduction of Mary Jane, and I was just like, I cannot read this. I
It's
just
very it's very dated.
it's very dated. But was I'm gonna get through the rest of Frank Miller's Daredevil because that's from like the 70s. But uh, like 80s comics are where I live. Like I've been reading a lot of Animal Man. I'll get to that. But I've been in a very God of War obsessed mindset lately because the game Ragnarok is coming out in a month, and I'm so excited. So I've got back into God of War. I've been playing the side quest that I just didn't do when I originally played it. Oh, before that, I said this last episode, but you weren't here. I finally beat the Valkyrie Queen. I made it my goal 1 week. I said before this week is over, the Valkyrie Queen is going down. It's one of the hardest boss fights I've ever had in my entire life. And like years ago, back in like 2019, I just said, forget it. I got really close, like really, really close one time, and then just said, and then tried a couple times after that, and then said, I'm done. And I just never tried to fight the Valkyrie Queen ever again. And the thing is, when I started to fight the Valkyrie Queen, this is my first time playing the game in months. So it's like, there's no way to get better, like good at a game again immediately than by fighting the hardest boss in the game. But I did it, and when I did it, I hate how it happened, but love how it happened at the same time, because I was not paying attention. I was like, you know what? Let me just. I'm listening to this. I'm watching this reaction. And it's in the discussion portion of the reaction where they're just talking about the episode that they watched, and I'm like, while I listen to this, let me just go and try to get some practice fighting the Valkyrie Queen. I thought this was just going to be practice. And I'm absentmindedly playing. I'm just pressing buttons, I'm dodging, I'm attacking. I'm like, I've gotten the routine down of how to fight the Valkyrie Queen. And the next thing you know, I look at the screen, Amir, the Valkyrie Queen's almost dead. And I'm at full health. And I'm like, wait a minute. Am I about to beat the Valkyrie Queen? And then I start focusing. And I beat her. And it was fantastic. And I saved immediately because I was it wouldn't have happened, but I was afraid that like I would lose my save data. But it was glorious. I love it. But anyway, that caused me to get the God of War lore and Legends book, which is essentially all of Atreus's journal entries plus further context for those, and like delves in deeper to the lore of those of the different characters and stories that are told within the game, like all of the like Mimir when they're on the boat tells them stories, like it delves deeper into those stories, into individual enemies and enemy types, and gives you some advice on how to beat them. Like I didn't know that the dark elves take more stun damage than any enemy in the game. So if you just put away your axe and just punch them and have the boys shoot arrows at them, or Atreus shoot arrows at them, their stun meter goes up really fast and you can take them out very quickly. And that became very useful when I was fighting elves in the game, because elves were the most annoying enemies to me. But now I realize, oh, they're very easy to beat. I'm just an idiot and didn't look at the menu that told you this is how you should beat them. But yeah, that's been great. And I also got my first art book, God of War art book. Like I said, big. I'm excited for that game. Can't wait. Been reading Bleach. I had a. You should go back and watch. Actually, it's a clip. You can watch this clip on the channel, Amir, if you haven't already, where I talked about Bleach and why I feel like it's so hated and how it tainted my experience. I'm not gonna get into that again, but I'm rereading Bleach, and I love it. It's amazing. It's my favorite anime and manga for a reason. Um, so I recently finished the Rancor arc, and the beginning of the Rancor arc feels like a speed run of the Soul Society arc. But partway through, this like really like hard emotional moment happens that really switches that arc's gears, and it finds its own rhythm and starts to deliver some very peak Bleach moments. And like I used to like think that Orihime was another one of those woman characters in manga and anime that just were poorly written like they always are. And then I'm reading Bleach, and I'm like, wait a minute, Orihime might be one of the best female anime characters of all time. She's a very introspective character, and she can come off as just this goofy airhead girl with big boobs like every other anime girl. But no, she's very like introspective and very like insightful and emotionally intelligent and acutely aware of Ichigo's mindset at any given moment. And like she's more than just her crush on Ichigo, and it's great. She's an amazing character. She's a much more amazing character than I ever give her credit for, and rereading it is really opening my eyes to that. Um, have you gotten back into watching it? Because I know at one point I had said some bad things about Bleach that I strive to never do again. And again, I talked about that last episode about how that happened. Because Bleach is amazing, and you should definitely finish watching it if you do. Better yet, actually, I would advise you to read it over watching it. I think reading it is a better experience. Because when I first watched the anime, I actually didn't enjoy it. And it wasn't until I read it that I really fell in love with it.
No, I have not started watching Bleach again at all.
Yeah, but you should when you get the chance and read it if you want. But speaking of, there's a manga. It's not a manga, a comic. I feel like you would like a lot, Amir, called Die. Have you heard of Die?
I don't think so.
So Die is a comic about a group of 5 people who get trapped in a game of Dungeons and Dragons. 2 years later, they return, but they're missing one person. However, the story takes place 27 years later when they accidentally return to the world of Die. It's a dark fantasy book that is both a subversion of fantasy stories and a celebration of role playing games. And it has its own official role playing game. But as I was reading, I was like, this feels like it's right up Amir's alley. It has that fantasy that you like a lot, as well as it being about D&D, or not D&D specifically. The game and the role playing game within it is actually called Die. You know, like the comic itself. But I was like, you would love this. It's on a Comixology and Kindle, and if you subscribe to Comixology or Kindle, the entirety of the series is on there. But yeah, does this interest you in the slightest?
That does actually sound interesting. I'll add it to my notes to read. I don't know when I'll get around to it,
Yeah,
but I'll put it on my list.
if you got Kindle, you should throw like a preview in there so you can check it out, see if you like it.
I have not had a Kindle since I was like 11.
Well, I'm talking about the app. Kindle
I
isn't
don't have the Kindle app either. I was just gonna Jack Sparrow it.
Jack Sparrow. Okay, to the Pirate Bay.
You know?
So the Flash. Flash is great. So in the last issue, Flash helps the combined forces of the Justice Society, the Bat Family, and the Titans stave off Deathstroke and his army's attacks across the globe. I haven't been keeping up with Dark Crisis because I don't really care about it. I feel like DC has been having way too many like big events in the last like what 7 years, 10. It's weird. Since like the end of the New 52, they just keep doing giant events. Like let this like just characters and stories live on their own. But world's finest. So I was gonna take a break from the world's finest, but it's just too good for me to stop. It's like one of the best comics out right now. So in an alternate universe on Earth, Earth is on the verge of self destruction. So two Gotham-based scientists send their only son, David, to a different dimension to save him. Kind of like Superman. Here he meets Superman, Batman, and Robin, who take him to the Fortress of Solitude and discover that his body absorbs sun rays differently, just like Superman, except his powers are slightly different. So Superman takes him under his wing. And the story is titled the like in a synopsis it says like the like sidekick of Superman that never was, or like nobody ever knew him or something like that. And I'm wondering if this is actually an old character that they're repurposing that used to be a sidekick of Superman, or if this is something originally created for this. I'll have to look it up later. Last but not least, in terms of comics, is Dual Power Bomb. It is a pro wrestling comic about a girl who wants to become a famous wrestler like her mother before her, but due to reasons I won't spoil, no one will train her, especially her mother's trainer and family friend, because her father told him not to. Noticing her desperation, a necromancer, yes, a necromancer, who was banished to Earth and fell in love with wrestling, recruits her to join his wrestling tournament. So the her wrestling name is Steel Rose, and she joins another wrestler who decided to take her under his wing named Cobra Sun, and they discover that on every other planet in the universe, pro wrestling is real, like it's not fake and like scripted and all that. So they have to like stop faking their moves if they want to win the tournament. But yeah, that's all I got for comics. Moving on to TV and film, James Earl Jones. retires from voicing Darth Vader. You know, he's up there in his years. He's been voicing Darth Vader for a long time. I'm not really deeply saddened about this because it's like he's old, man. He wants to retire. Spend his life doing other things. Having fun or whatever. I don't really like feel sad about it. Because it's not like Darth Vader is gonna cease to be in things because he stops voicing the character. But I respect James a lot. Love what he did for the character and Star Wars in general. And he will be missed as voicing Darth Vader. Any thoughts?
I don't really have any thoughts about it. It's just he's kind of done with the role, which is fair. He's been doing it quite a large chunk of his life now. He's iconic in the role. I feel like a lot of people can do his Darth Vader voice pretty well, but he's also given it to, or he's also sold his voice to like be used by an AI or whatever. Yep. We had talked about like that voice AI thing briefly. I don't remember if it was on podcast or not on podcast.
Yeah, it was. I think it was about
a couple months ago. But yeah, so he's part of that now, which is fine. I mean, at least it was done like with his permission and everything. And he's old. I'm just like let him enjoy his life.
So that is actually how they did his voice in Obi-Wan. Supposedly. So it sounded pretty good in Obi-Wan, so some new cast members have been announced for the live action Avatar on Netflix. Arden Cho will be playing June. Danny Pudi from Community, Abed from Community, will be playing the Mechanist. Excuse me. Yeah, that's how it's pronounced, I guess. The Mechanist. He was the father of the kid in the wheelchair that like was inside one of the air temples. He's playing that character. Amber Midthunder, the main character from Prey, is playing Princess Yue. Utkarsh Ambudkar is playing King Boomy. He looks really young to be playing King Boomy, so I'm very curious with like what direction they're going with that character. If they're just gonna make him look old. Momona Tamada is playing Ty Lee. Talia Tran is playing Mai, and George Takei is playing. Actually, that's not the last one. George Takei is playing Ko, which is the face stealer, and I don't know if he voiced the character in the show or not, but maybe he did. And James C is playing the Cabbage Merchant. So, yeah. There's a trailer for this movie on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen the trailer for They Clone Tyrone?
For the what?
There's a movie called They Cloned Tyrone. Have you seen the trailer for it?
No, I have not seen the trailer.
So it is starring John Boyega, which Johnny Boyega from Star Wars. Jamie Foxx, and Tiana Paris, who plays Monica Rambeau in the MCU currently. The synopsis says a series of eerie events thrust an unlikely trio onto the trail of a nefarious government experiment and this pulpy mystery caper. It's kind of like a very like I said, very pulpy, similar to like Pulp Fiction. It's called Pulp Fiction for a reason. Type story with these very it's kind of like a not blaxploitation, but it definitely feels like it takes place in like the 70s. I don't know if it actually does, but like that era, and it looks fun. And like it suggests
that sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, I should have told you to check out the trailer, but
I'm gonna be watching this for sure.
Yeah, it as the name suggests, it seems like they're cloning people, and it's hinted at that the government is experimenting on black people in the trailer. So it looks very fun and it sounds very interesting. So I'm excited.
I mean, they clone Tyrone,
Yeah, that's a very hilarious title. So the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie is getting a sequel. The movie from 2005, with director Francis Lawrence, is set to return. Have you seen that movie?
Unfortunately, yes, I have seen that movie, actually, and it is painful for me to be able to say that.
Is it that bad?
I won't say it's a bad movie per se, though it honestly kind of is. That movie is not a Constantine movie, like, whatsoever. It's just man haunted by demons. Man with magic haunted by demons, basically. I will say it, because I don't want to just sit here and, like, trash this movie. Keanu Reeves is good, but he's good in like 90% of everything that he's in. And the tone of it is very similar to what I want to see if they were to do a comic accurate Constantine movie or TV show. The original Matt Ryan Constantine TV show was very accurate. I really love that.
Yeah, some
It was
people.
darker than the Matt Ryan Constantine show, which I did really enjoy. I liked the tone of it. Other than that, everything else was very wrong.
I'm not sure if this was a rumor or if it was just like a fan casting, but a lot of people were like picking like John Boyega to play Constantine in like the DC live action universe or whatever it's called, DCEU, I think. What do you think about that?
I don't really have a say one way or the other on how I feel about it. In my opinion, I feel like Matt Ryan's the only person that can play the character in my eyes. Every time that someone else does it, whether it be the voice or like the face of Constantine, it just doesn't sit right with me. Just because Matt Ryan has cemented himself as Constantine, I feel like. But I'm here for anything as long as it's an actual accurate Constantine movie and not the Keanu Reeves Constantine movie. Did you know he's American in that movie?
I mean, that makes sense. I don't imagine Keanu Reeves doing a British accent at all.
I don't imagine Keanu Reeves playing Constantine, but we live in that
Honestly,
world.
I think this movie has potential to be pretty good. This sequel, that is.
I don't.
It might not be.
I can't even say that I'll watch it.
It might
I
not
can't
be
even say that I'll watch
accurate, but it could be good.
The first movie wasn't good nor accurate. So I like there's inaccurate movies that are good and there are good movies that are or bad movies that are accurate. This movie was neither.
Okay.
Like at all.
So Hellraiser is getting a remake. And it came out of nowhere, the announcement, for me at least. I think there were rumors about it or like certain casting were announced that I didn't hear about. But it's going to be streaming on Hulu October 7th, next Friday, because it's currently October 2nd that we're recording this. So literally the day after I post this, and the same day as Werewolf by Night. So I got a double feature for that week. I'll be watching the remake. I haven't seen the first two Hellraiser films, but I do plan on watching them eventually. I got a lot of stuff I want to watch this Halloween, this spooky month. So I'm probably not gonna watch Hellraiser this year, but next year definitely I'll be watching the first two Hellraiser films, maybe the first four, but because everything after that people say is horrible, but the first two people say are the best, and then everything after that, or the third and the fourth, people say are still they're cool, but everything after that no longer has the involvement of the creator of the book it's based off of, Hellbound Heart, and it dips in quality. Most people say so. We'll see. Speaking of Werewolf by Night, did you see the trailer for Werewolf by Night? Because we haven't talked since that happened. Well, of course you've seen the
I
trailer.
did see that trailer.
Of course you did.
Not too interested in it.
Wow,
but
you suck. You're boring.
I don't. Well, one, I'm not a big werewolf fan. Two, nothing Marvel has put out recently has been all that interesting or
Bro,
like
this looks
good to me.
so different from anything they've made. How can you not be
So did
interested
Eternals.
in it at least being different? Yeah, but did Eternals try to copy a completely different film style? No. But also,
But it
I
tried to do
loved
something
Eternals.
different.
So you chose a poor example to send my way because I loved Eternals.
I didn't love Eternals. I liked Eternals, but I didn't love Eternals. But my point is, just because it looks like, and it does seem to be doing something different, doesn't mean
Yeah,
that it's
but
necessarily going to keep my interest off that alone.
the level of how different they're being is so much greater with this show than Eternals. I feel like that's a really horrible comparison. One is trying to
That does
copy a
not mean that the
completely
difference is
different
going to
film
make me
style,
interested.
whereas one just had different visuals, really, and kind of different storytelling structure. But for the most part, it was a drama, which like every Marvel movie is a drama with a little bit of comedy. Whereas this one, I don't know, it feels like a Universal monster style horror movie. And I don't know, that really interests me because I like that type of stuff. But clearly you're not as interested in that type of stuff, and you know I love werewolves. Um, but Man Thing showed up in the trailer. That's interesting. I'm sure you've noticed that, and you saw somebody post it somewhere. Do you think Blade will appear in this in some form or fashion? I feel like this is a good place for Blade to show up.
I feel like he maybe hinted at or name dropped. I don't think he's going to show up.
Yeah. So it's being directed by directed and composed by Michael Giacchino, who's a composer who did the Spider-Man MCU trilogy. He did the Incredibles 1, 2, and the Batman. So, and Doctor Strange, the first one. So it's interesting. This is his directorial debut, and I hope it's really good. Um, and if it's really good, um, speaking of Blade, let's talk about Blade. So Mahershala Ali is frustrated with the process of the movie being made. Says the script is only 90 pages long and features two lackluster action sequences, and says that Kevin Feige is being spread too thin. Who would have guessed that Kevin Feige is being spread too thin when they're releasing so many movies at once, like we talked about a couple episodes ago, the last one you were on, I believe. But if Werewolf by Night is really good, I would love for that team to work on a Blade movie and to take inspiration from, continue to take inspiration from like the Universal monsters in some ways, and like of course Dracula, and bring that and into a part of like Blade. Um, so every MCU thing says things like this, and I don't trust it, and I don't believe him. But Michael Giacchino says that this is the goriest MCU movie or MCU thing yet, and I'm like, sure, man, sure.
They've been saying that
They've
since
they they've
phase
been saying
one. I
that
don't
so long,
believe that.
ever since Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was announced. They've been like saying stuff like that, and it never
They
turns
said
out to be
Moon
true.
Knight was gonna be the most brutal. They didn't cut away. I'm like, dude,
I
dude,
was so
really?
they're liars, bro. They did some similar stuff with Thor Love and Thunder. It's like in some interviews, Natalie Portman says some stuff that never happens in a movie. Like, yeah, they just be lying to get people to watch this stuff. I still think I'm probably gonna enjoy this, and it's probably gonna be good, and hopefully it's just as different as advertised. And if so, I hope that points toward them trying new things in the future, because MCU's just been getting stagnant. And if this is good, I hope these people work on Blade. So, sticking on the Marvel train. Uh, so Kevin Feige spoke out about why they didn't recast T'Challa, and he said they decided not to recast T'Challa MCU because it just felt like it was too much too soon, right? And me and you have discussed why we don't agree with that decision at length before, but I've recently been convinced to agree. Hear me out. Hear me out. Here's why. So I do agree that it's too early, and here's why. T'Challa may not actually be dead, and the mantle is being passed on for a short period of time to respect Chadwick and give people time to properly mourn, and for them to properly, recast and bring in a new actor in a big way. What if either T'Challa fakes his death or he's brought back somehow? I don't think it would be that big of a deal if T'Challa himself was brought back to life in the movie somehow. And that's when they introduce a new actor as T'Challa, and they just are using this movie as a way to honor T'Challa. Excuse me, Chadwick Boseman's passing, and respect that and give people time, and to, just give themselves time to work on a way to bring back T'Challa in a big way that doesn't disappoint anyone. Um, what if that's what they're doing? Any thoughts?
I personally would love to see a King of the Dead story for Black Panther. I wouldn't mind if this is like if they're waiting out to recast him and like they wind up doing something similar to a King of the Dead story. But I don't know. I still wish that he would have been recasted sooner. I get why they didn't do it this soon. I
Yeah,
still hope they do it in the future.
yeah, I agree. Like at first, I was just like so like upset that they didn't recast him, that idea didn't even like come to my mind, and then somebody pointed it out on like where I saw this on IGN's Twitter, and I was like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense, and I hope that is what they're doing, that they're just giving themselves time to do it properly. But again, let's stick on that Marvel train. I actually had something else I was gonna throw in the middle of that, but I'm actually gonna push it back. So She-Hulk, have you caught up?
Yeah, I've looked out for Shield.
Yeah, so I'm enjoying it. I don't think it's like the best thing ever. I think that they're still kind of holding themselves back in terms of the comedy. I think that they could go stronger um with the comedy, but they're being kind of very what's the word? I don't know. another word for holding back. Like I feel like they're not going as far with it as they could. And like you mentioned, they teased us with Daredevil, and then made us wait, and even joked about it. And honestly, I love that about this show. And, it's a She-Hulk show. Of course, I want to see Daredevil, especially in the yellow or gold as it will be. Um, but She-Hulk show, so it makes sense. The wedding episode wasn't anything special to me, but it was cool to see Mr. Immortal show up in the MCU. Um, and I feel like at this point, well, technically with Miss Marvel, they kind of confirmed that mutants exist. But at this point, but they're no longer pretending like mutants don't exist. Like several mutant characters have showed up in this show, so like mutants are a thing in the MCU. They just haven't used the word mutant yet, so it's just a matter of time. Um, but I like how the show is just introducing a bunch of like lesser known characters, to the MCU. Uh, it really makes the world feel lived in. Episode 7, where they go to. Well, have you seen episode 7, the most recent one?
Yes.
Yeah. So when they go to Abomination's retreat, Blonsky's retreat, it's probably my second favorite episode after the Wong episode. I just really like the story that they were telling there with all those characters helping her out, get past her troubles. I'm curious to see what they're going with the villain trying to take her blood. I feel like it's been very much in the background because that's not the focus of the show they're trying to give. It's meant to be like a lawyer comedy. So I'm interested to see where that goes. But did you like the Wong episode? I feel like a lot of people like that episode especially.
Of course I do. Just like She-Hulk, they know what they're doing. Like just like She-Hulk said, everybody loves Wong.
Yes.
Everybody wants more Wong. I'll watch anything as long as Wong's in it. If Wong shows up in Werewolf by Night, I'll probably be the first person to watch.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna lie to you and say that he shows up in it when it comes out.
I will know whether or not you're lying. You're not gonna be the one.
I mean, it's not like you're not gonna watch it.
I mean, I will. It probably just won't be on opening.
Yeah.
Or like on release. It'll be like a while before I watch it.
As long as you watch it before the podcast.
I make no promises.
I will force you to watch it. But I forgot to mention that I actually plan on watching. So I've never seen the original Wolfman. I'm gonna watch that before. I'm gonna watch both the Wolfman and I've never seen American Werewolf in London. So I'm gonna watch both of those movies before Werewolf by Night comes out, just to prep myself. To what? It's gonna be great. I'm excited.
Have you ever seen Twilight?
Shut up. Why?
No.
Why are you bringing up Twilight?
Now you gotta watch Twilight, dude. If you're watching all the influential werewolf movies, you gotta watch Twilight.
No. But
you gotta watch Twilight before if I watch Werewolf by Night, you have to watch Twilight.
That is not comparable at all. You were gonna watch it anyway. I was never gonna watch Twilight. I will watch Twilight.
It was going to be a long time before I watched Werewolf by Night.
Here's what will happen. I will watch Twilight with people and make fun of it together. I would not watch it alone.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I feel like that's fair.
But yeah. Just again
for reference, I also have not seen Twilight, so
see, we should watch it together. It'll be fun. But Thor Love and Thunder, you saw it.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen it. The more I think about that movie, the more I dislike it. I still haven't gotten around to watch it. I think I said before, I'm waiting for the YouTube channel, reaction YouTube channel I watch Blind Wait for them to finally react to it, and then I'll watch it alongside them. Because otherwise, I have absolutely no urge to watch it at all. And it's been on Disney Plus for like a month or two. What did you think?
It is nowhere near as bad as people are making it out to be. However, it's not a good movie.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world.
It's not the worst thing in the world. I feel like it is fun. I had fun watching this movie at multiple points.
That's fair.
I will straight up agree with Chris Hemsworth when I say the story was sacrificed for humor. However, it's nowhere near to the level that people are making it out to be. People are saying like, "Oh, there's no story in this whatsoever," yada yada yada.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Nowhere near. What?
I said that's ridiculous. Of course, there's a story.
Oh, yeah, of course there's a story, but like the way people are describing it, it's like, oh, this is like, the story is like very minimal, That's not the case. It's not. I'm not gonna say it's a good story. It's a decent. It's a decent story. I like it.
Well, I agree that it's minimal. It is very minimal. I like it. It's kind of all over the place.
It is very all over the
I
place.
think, ah man, I just really don't like that movie because I feel like it wastes every single character in it. I feel like it does not utilize any character well at all. And I think that Christian Bale is a really good Gore, but we barely get any of him.
I also forgot Gore, like, I forgot his motivations, like, 90% of the time that he wasn't on screen. I'm just like, why is he doing this
But
again?
also
And
his
I found
ultimate
myself
plan,
asking
his ultimate plan was to make a wish to a god. What?
to
That
kill all gods, yeah.
that went again. That I feel like that goes against everything. I feel like in the comic he finds a way to kill gods by his own power. But have you read that comic?
Yeah.
So like the whole spoiler alert for anybody. Obviously we're spoiling Love and Thunder, but I'm gonna spoil the comic that it's based off of. Um, but like ultimately that story ends with him realizing he's become a god and he essentially kills himself. Um, or helps Thor kill himself. So like that's how that ends. I feel like in this, that was him using his own power that he accumulated because he felt like obviously he's not a god. He's using his own normal person or whatever species he has power to destroy all gods rather than going to another god to kill a god. That's very strange. I just feel like it goes against his character, even within the movies. Removing the comics, just like he wants to kill our gods. Why would he go to another god? But what else was I about to say? Yeah, I feel like the best story told, like and it is the story with Jane and her um experience with cancer. I feel like that is the best story told in the film, and I feel like maybe they should have leaned more into that. Because I feel like Thor has been had a circular character arc since the second Thor movie. He keeps going in a circle of I don't know who I am. I don't know who I am. I feel like at this point he should know who he is. I feel like at this point he should know who he is, and this movie should not be focused on him still being confused on who he is and what he wants to do. I think this movie he should have known who he was, known what he wants to do, and instead the focal points should have been Jane trying to deal with what she's going through and Gore, and Thor is kind of like the character that brings these things together. And also, I feel like Gore, like when you have a villain like Gore, the point is that he is there to kind of like teach a lesson to the characters, or one the character is meant to teach a lesson to Gore. In the comics, Thor is a god where people pray to him. He comes, he helps them, he saves them, versus all of the selfish gods that hurt Gore. And Thor shows Gore that he is that gods can be good. Whereas in this story, Thor is a douchebag who doesn't properly help the people who are asking for his help, who are praying to him. When he comes down to help them, he usually just makes things worse. And this story could have went the direction of, well, Gore kind of shows Thor, especially when Thor goes to what is it Omnipotent City? Is that what it's called? Um, when he goes there and see how horrible the gods are, I feel like he should have realized, oh, I'm also being horrible. I should be better. Like, this is why Gore is trying to kill us. But I don't feel like he comes to that realization. I feel like he just continues to quip and go and be like, well, I got to stop Gore because Gore is bad. And that's the end of it. And also, what was that whole thing with giving him a kid at the end? Oh, I really don't like that movie, Amir. I really don't like this movie. I hate it so much. It makes no sense. I'm sorry for that tangent. I just really don't like this movie.
I do not hate the movie nearly as much as you do.
I really
I
don't like
also
this movie.
don't mind Thor not knowing who he is. Honestly, I'm gonna be completely honest with that. In my opinion, the way I see it, every time Thor figures out his identity, he has a like identity shattering moment. Thor's is kind of a punching bag in the MCU. I come to realize that. Like every time he feels like he's getting better, he just loses everything all over again. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if this child dies in the next movie and he has another identity crisis. Um, but I wouldn't mind an identity like another movie about him finding his identity if that's what the movie was actually about. Instead, the movie went like 20 different directions and none of them were really about Thor figuring himself out.
It's just
So like it's
I feel like
just
Thor: Love and
I
Thunder.
understand points about this movie.
I feel like it was
I didn't
directionless.
hate it. Oh my god.
I feel like that movie was directionless, and it didn't know where it was going.
It was very directional.
And
I
like
can
you know
wholeheartedly
it's directionless because the ending is so random. Why did he take Gore's kid? I'm confused. Why did he just give her to someone else? It's so weird. It's so random. It came out of nowhere. I really don't like that movie. I think it's okay. It's fun. It has some CGI is horrible. But we know why. We've had that discussion several times. You know, Disney, the industry in general treats CGI artists horribly, and they deserve better. But like, it's hard for me to like enjoy that movie or have the urge to watch it again. But Deadpool 3, you've seen the trailer. Hugh Jackman will be returning as Wolverine in the first MCU Deadpool film. It is set to release September 6th, 2024. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is how they properly introduce mutants into the MCU and actually start calling mutants mutants. Because this is too coincidental. You know what I mean? How did you feel when you saw that?
For one, I don't feel like Hugh Jackman's going to be a very big part of this movie.
Yeah, there's a chance of that.
I don't see a world where he's like where it's like Deadpool 2 with Cable. I don't see a world where he's like the Cable of this movie. I see him making maybe one not even entirely significant cameo movie because they haven't talked about his role in the movie. They just said, yeah, we're gonna come back for this movie. Yeah. I don't see a world where he's like a mainstay character.
I would agree with you if this wasn't a Disney produced film. Disney isn't gonna bring they're not gonna bring back this guy and not use him for an extended period of time. I just don't think they will. I think that Disney are gonna milk Hugh Jackman for all the money he's worth. I think they're gonna.
I would have agreed with you before Multiverse of Madness.
Well, Multiverse of Madness didn't have a character like him in it. I mean, that's a lie. They had Professor X.
I was gonna say they had Professor X.
You're absolutely right. The difference is, I feel like that movie's weird. I like that movie. Don't get me wrong, but
I don't.
See, so look, me and you're the opposite with Thor: Love and Thunder and Multiverse of Madness. I can enjoy Multiverse of Madness and find the fun in it because of the direction. Thor: Love and Thunder, I feel like, is not directed or written very well, and both of those are on Taika Waititi. And it's not that he's bad. I think that he just really did not give a fuck.
I can honestly agree with that. I don't think he cared like much at all.
I think he did this for the money because they obviously paid him a lot, and I think he just did it to get it done. And he didn't care much for how good it was. He just wanted this money for like other projects. But yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like because that's a good point you bring up because they did have a lot of they had Professor X and they didn't like use him for an extended period of time. But it's a good point. You make me change my mind a little bit. I still think they're gonna use him. I don't think he's just gonna be like pop up cameo for like 15 minutes and then he's gone. I think he'll be like a prominent character in the movie. I have a harder time explaining it after you said that, but I do believe that is the case. So the rumored pitch for Deadpool 3 before Fox was bought by Disney was a road trip with Deadpool and Wolverine. So this could be that, but a multiversal road trip, which could be fun. So
I also don't see Hugh Jackman living till the end, or
for sure.
At least staying as Hugh Jackman.
For sure. I wonder if they'll bring back Laura Kinney, X-23. What's that actress's name? Daphne Keane. I wonder if they'll bring her back. That would be cool. To see her maybe as Wolverine herself. That would be dope. It would also be interesting if they like made her the MCU's Wolverine. That would be pretty cool. A lot of people have been talking about how they would want that. And it's not like you can't do that and still have Logan. You could just, like we said before, you could just say like mutants have existed, but they've been kept secret for whatever reason. And like maybe there's some powerful psychic who like wipe mutants' memories from everybody or something like that, but keeping them hidden. And like Wolverine has been around, and at this point, this is a point in time where Laura Kinney X-23 has come about. That would be cool. But
I would love a movie about or the way that I would want to see it is they do not all, but like most of Logan's movies are just like solo Logan movies. Like he's not really part of the X-Men. All the X-Men Wolverine stuff is Laura.
That'd be interesting. So Andor. It's a very different Star Wars experience, and I love that about it. Similar to the MCU, I just want something different, and this is different. It's a slow burn, and that's likely why it's how many episodes? Is it 12 or is it 9? Why do I have 12 episodes? Is it 12 episodes? I don't think so.
I really do not believe it is 12
I was like, why did I write 12? That's a weird number. Hold on, let me look it up. It will be 12 episodes.
episodes.
Because I wrote 12 and I was like, there's no way this show's going to be 12 episodes. A Disney Plus show? Yeah, right. But it is. It's 12 episodes. And the second season is set to also be 12 episodes. Wow. That's actually really crazy because each episode is like 40 minutes long, too. Wow. That's insane. This show's been
It's a
good
lot
so
of
far.
Andor.
Yeah, it's a lot of Andor. This show's been really good so far. How are you enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it a lot. First three episodes were a little slow. I wasn't really enjoying the first three. That's not true. I was enjoying the first three. They just weren't. They were getting there, not quite where I wanted them to be. Episode 4 really changed that, picked things up. I was very happy with that. With episode 4, it was very good. It showed a lot more. Andor is what I expected and what I wanted the Mandalorian to be. Like back in season 1, I wanted more of like an underworld, criminal underworld, like darker story. The Mandalorian, which I do love the Mandalorian, did not turn out to be that much at all. But Andor is giving me that. Andor is like a darker version of Solo in my eyes, in the sense that like it really explores the criminal underworld. Andor just does a whole lot darker than Solo did. And I'm really liking it. I'm really liking it a lot.
Yeah, I love seeing another part of the Star Wars universe. Like we're seeing more corporate side of it. We're seeing a more, like you said, darker spy side of it. And yeah, it's just fun to see different parts of this universe. And that's just something I feel like this universe desperately needs is to show the different parts of it and to show the different lifestyles. And I'm excited to see where this goes. It's 12 episodes, which is insane. Um, and it's going to be more than one season. So as far as we know, it's going to be two, but maybe there'll be a third. So I did something, Amir. I did something crazy. Yesterday I sat down, no, day before that, the night before that, I sat down and watched the first episode of House of Dragons. And it was great. It was fantastic. It was so good that the day after that, Saturday, I watched the following like 5 episodes. Except I haven't finished the 6th episode. I'm only halfway through the 6th episode because I went to sleep. But it's good. It's really good. I see why Game of Thrones took over the world. This show is great. It's really good. I see why people like it so much. So you say you've been living, breathing Game of Thrones for the past couple of weeks. I assume that has to do with the fact that House of Dragons came out and you've been watching that. How have you been liking House of Dragons, man? Especially in comparison to the original show.
House of Dragons is great. Or House of the Dragon is great. It's not as good as Game of Thrones yet, but that's because Game of Thrones is like 8 seasons, where the past like 2 or 3 were garbage, and still had like 4 to 5 seasons of like near perfection. Where House of Dragons is only like 6 episodes. 7th episode comes out today. I have not seen episode 6. I will say I'm going to watch it tonight, and then I'm going to watch episode 7 when episode 7 drops. After I get off work, because I don't get off work till 11, so it'll definitely be out by the time I get home. But I have not seen the newest episode yet. But up to that point, I'm not at the time skip because after episode 5, it's a time skip. But it is very good.
I mean, there's a time skip like every episode.
There is a time skip every episode, but the biggest
the big time skip happens in episode 6.
Because like there's a year time skip in between like every episode. Like the first episode starts, Rhaenyra and Alicent are like 15, and the last episode before the time skip they're like 18, 19.
Yeah.
And then 10-year time skip happens. I will say, because I know the lore of Westeros, I know like the fates of like 90% of these characters. I'm not gonna spoil any of them for anyone that has not seen Game of Thrones or read any of the books. I didn't start watching Game of Thrones because of House of the Dragon. I had been watching Game of Thrones since like the beginning of quarantine, and then I stopped. And then I started watching it again in August, and then I stopped again, and now I'm just like chugging through it. And then House of the Dragon started, and I was like, oh great, now I have something to watch alongside it. Both House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones are so good that I want to now read Song of Ice and Fire.
Same.
Which like the book. I really like the books are very different. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about like the lore of of the books, and in the books there's like a lot more magic, a lot more supernatural stuff happening, which I'm very excited to get into. Luckily, my mom has an Audible subscription where she already listened to all the all the Song of Ice and Fire books. My Audible subscription has zero Song of Ice and Fire books, so I'm going to be stealing her password very soon. Probably sometime today.
Yeah, so
Um,
I read the first book. And the first book is very similar to the first season of the show, so I decided to start watching the second season, but never finished it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna watch the first season because I never watched the first season, and then I'm gonna read the second book, and then I'm gonna watch the second season. I'm gonna keep going like that up until it gets to the point where it extremely diverges in terms of the show and the book stories, and just consume them separately.
well, the series is not over yet, the book series at least, and God knows if it ever will be. Thank you, George R. R. Martin, for taking your sweet time. Um, so you have a lot of time, I will say.
Yep. I also started watching Rings of Power, and I haven't finished first episode. Honestly, kind of started getting boring, so I stopped watching it. But hopefully, it gets better.
Thank you. Okay, okay. I'm so glad you said that. That show is the most boring thing I've ever seen, with somehow the largest budget that I've ever seen.
Like as I'm watching, I'm like, man, this is beautiful. You can tell they got a big budget, but man, this is boring, man. Like
I
here's the
got
thing,
through the first three.
I've never watched the entirety of the Lord of the Rings films, so I'm gonna assume the movies are much better than this.
They are 1,000%. Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I guarantee you this show might turn off a lot of like people who've never seen any of the films in the slightest, not even a bit of it, like I have, off because this show's so boring.
I will 100% say I have seen the first three episodes. I watched them when they came out because they came out very similarly to in time to when House of the Dragon came out, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna have like myself a little fantasy night. Watched House of Dragon first, and I'm very glad I did because if I watched Rings of Power first, I probably would have went right to sleep and not even started House of Dragon. Um, there's literally like I don't know what's going on. I'm confused as hell. I'm bored as hell. I don't. There's one single character that I like out of the entire show, and he doesn't even show till the end of episode 3. Like I don't get this show like at all.
Yeah, it's a strange one. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'll finish it and catch up and see if it gets better. So moving on to video games. Ninja Gaiden 4. In an interview with VGC, Team Ninja's Fumihiko Yasuda, director of the upcoming Wolong Fallen Dynasty, said, "If we were to theoretically work with another company on a new Ninja Gaiden title, we would need to make sure that it would be a title that the fans would really enjoy and exceed their expectations. It's not just a matter of, hey, let's just go do this. All the pieces would need to fit, and it would need to be the right team, either a younger team internally or another company that will really need to fit the Ninja Gaiden pedigree." So, people have been wanting a Ninja Gaiden 4 forever. Me included. I love Ninja Gaiden. I played the second one, played a little bit of the third one. I actually started playing the first one for the first time after I heard this because I was just in a Ninja Gaiden mood after hearing that. And then the first one holds up very well. And I really want a fourth one. And they're saying either they're gonna get a younger team internally to work on it, Team Ninja, or they might just give it out to another team, another studio entirely to work on the game. And I just want a Ninja Gaiden game, and I want a good Ninja Gaiden game. I don't care. I want it to be a continuation of the story, but I don't care if they reboot, as long as it's fun, as long as the story's fun, and they give it to a group of people who really know what they're doing, whether it's their team themselves, but a younger team within, or a new studio, or excuse me, different studio, not necessarily new. But you have any experience with Ninja Gaiden in the slightest, or any
I
interest in it?
beat the entire trilogy.
Yeah, it's good games.
They're amazing games. I love Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, like when I was playing Ninja Gaiden 2 not too long ago, like, and just playing the combat, because in my mind, it's hack and slash. You just hack and you slash. It's pretty simple in that sense. But the the combat does get more complicated than that. In my memory, I was like, it's really simple, but it has some depth that really helps elevate it and makes me like
Learn
it a
hard
lot.
to
Yep, easy to learn, hard to master. Exactly. Um, so an Iron Man game is in development at Motive Studio, the studio behind Star Wars Squadrons. And the Iron Man team at Motive Studio is led by executive producer Oliver Prulux, who recently produced Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy for Square Enix and Adios Montreal. And he's a production leader on the Avengers game. And he's joined by someone who worked on Star Wars Squadrons and Mass Effect Andromeda, a person named Ian Fraser. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this person's names. I'm going to try. Malin Lumine or Lumino worked on Immortals, Phoenix Rising, and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. And another person who works on Squadrons named GF Poirier. If I'm not mistaken, I think there's also some people who worked on the Anthem game, which is a game that
I
looks
remember
like
names from Anthem. Yeah.
yeah. So like a lot of these people also worked on Anthem. So like they're building a team that has worked on games that would make sense for an Iron Man game. And me and you've been talking about it, ever since it started being rumored. But even before then, we were just talking about how Iron Man game would be interesting. I really want an Iron Man game. I think it would be fun. I think, like I said, other than like there are some, like Dragon Ball Z games where you can fight like a fly. I always forget that Dragon Ball Z games exist, honestly, because there are just so many of them and none of them interest me. Um, but like those are like the only games that come out like regularly where you can usually fly. But outside of that, there aren't a lot of games where you just fly, man. And have an Iron Man game where you just fly, you have these cool armors, these cool gadgets. I just really want that. And like having similar to like Spider Man, but potentially more complicated, where each armor, like I mean, I guess in Spider Man each suit has its own ability, but like having each armor have their own like specific abilities would also be very interesting, especially since maybe they would have a lot of armors because Iron Man has a lot of had a lot of armors over the years. But like sounds interesting, sounds fun. I hope it's good. Any thoughts on this Iron Man game?
I will say the number, like the teams of people that are like talked about, or like the team of people that have talked about, those are the type of people you want to be working on an Iron Man game.
For sure.
I like most of, or at least some parts of the games listed. Immortals Phoenix Rising was really good. Assassin's Creed Odyssey was fun. Not a good Assassin's Creed game, but fun.
Good game,
Star
not a
Wars
good Assassin's Creed.
What did you say?
It's a good game, not a good Assassin's Creed game.
Yes, good game, not a good Assassin's. I will even go as far as to call it a good game. Not a good Assassin's Creed game. Very fun. One of the most fun experiences I've had playing an Assassin's Creed game. Probably because it wasn't Assassin's Creed, but it was very fun. I love Star Wars Squadrons. Guardians of the Galaxy I have not played, but I wanted to. I've heard great things about it. Anthem. Have you played Anthem?
No, I've just heard the story of its failure.
Okay, yeah, don't. Good Iron Man game, not a good game. Fun for about 5 minutes. Beyond that, not so much. But the core mechanics of flying, fighting, and shooting in that game are things I would love to see ported into an Iron Man game. You can definitely see like the DNA of an Iron Man game, and when this game comes out, you probably be able to see a lot of Anthem DNA in it. I am interested in this Iron Man game. Not a super huge fan of Iron Man necessarily, but it's a Marvel game. I like Marvel characters. I like Iron Man decently enough. I'll play it.
Yeah. So we're gonna end this on the um showcases that I discussed last week with Ira but with you since you missed some of it. So we're gonna start with Assassin's Creed Ubisoft Forward, right? So they showed a cinematic trailer for Assassin's Creed Mirage. They announced a mobile Assassin's Creed game that takes place in China.
No.
Called
Do
wait, let me
not
finish. Called Project
skip over
Jade.
that.
I'm not gonna skip over it. I'm just gonna list them all out and then we're gonna talk about them individually. They announced Project Jade, which is a mobile game that will take place in China. They started talking about Assassin's Creed Infinity and announced two games that will be a part of Assassin's Creed Infinity, which essentially feels like a launcher for Assassin's Creed games. Project Red, which will be RPG style game set in Japan, and Assassin's Creed Hex, which will nothing's been confirmed, but it is some people are saying it's going to take place on witch trials within the Holy Roman Empire, which took place in what is now the present day Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. And yeah, so let's go back to Mirage.
Okay, Mirage, very excited for it.
Yeah, same.
No. Mirage, very good, very delicioso. I want more of that. I'm very excited to see
Like I really
gameplay
wish,
of it.
yeah, I wish they would have showed gameplay.
But the cinematic trailer, very good, very
And
reminiscent
it,
of not only the Revelations trailer, but also the very first Assassin's
yes,
Creed trailer.
the very
I like
first.
it. I
Yeah,
like it a lot.
so like they've said it, and it's very much into that in the trailer, but they say out loud like it will be going back to like what Assassin's Creed used to be. Like They said that they want to make more focused games. They're no longer going to try and make a game that does everything. They're gonna have RPG games, and they're gonna have games that are more like the older Assassin's Creed games. So they're gonna try to have the best of both worlds and satisfy everyone, which is great in my opinion. I think that's a good move on their part. But yeah,
But yeah,
Mirage looks good.
that's the end of my Mirage thing. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it as well. It looks like it'll be really fun. I'm excited to have a Assassin's Creed game that feels like what I like about Assassin's Creed. I'm upset that Jade is a mobile game.
Okay, can I please? I have such a rant
Go ahead.
about Jade.
Go ahead, rant.
Okay,
Rant away.
Jade, literally everything. Dijon, how many times have we talked about my ideal Assassin's Creed game? An Asia's trilogy with Xiao Jun, open world. They can keep it this RPG style, open world in China. I was so excited when I saw the trailer. I was so excited, and then it cut to that like male assassin. And I was like, okay, this isn't what I want. And then it's a mobile game,
So
and I could have sworn it's multiplayer and like you create your own character. Like no,
Is
no,
it-
no, 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 no,
so
no.
is Yao Jun the one from the Assassin's Creed China like 2.5D game?
Yeah, she's Chronicles China and the movie where Ezio dies in Embers.
Yeah, so I agree with you. They should have done that. They already introduced a Chinese assassin, and they had a Chinese Assassin's Creed game, but it wasn't like, an Assassin's Creed game that people wanted necessarily. And then they do it again, but it's a mobile game. Like, come on, man.
It's another Assassin's Creed game nobody wants, bro. Like,
And also, they took so long to finally make a Japanese Assassin's Creed game that PlayStation announced another game that feels like a Japanese Assassin's Creed game in Rise of the Ronin. So like I feel like they just took too long to do this thing that was like an easy slam dunk. Because Project Red, I mean, it's gonna be RPG style, but I'll probably play it because it's in Japan. Like I've said it before, like I'm not the biggest fan of that type of gameplay, but you put it in a setting that I enjoy and I'll like it. Like I said before, if you took everything that Assassin's Creed like Odyssey, Origins, and Valhalla are, but it was just Star Wars, I would love that game so much. Honestly, um, if Ubisoft were to make, which actually I think they are making a Star Wars game. That's what I
they're
would.
supposed to be.
That's what I would like it to be like. But I think the game is being made by the team that made the Division. But
So
honestly,
that's an interesting.
if honestly, I would love for the main Assassin's Creed team to make a Star Wars game. I feel like they would make a really good Star Wars game. But yeah, is that all you got to say about Star Wars? Excuse me,
Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed.
Uh,
Got Star Wars in my brain.
Jade, yeah, no, Jade is so close to being what I like my ideal thing, and it just misses the bar just enough that it like makes me
Yeah.
actually angry.
Do you think
I
Hex?
hadn't seen the showcase like live, like I wasn't watching the showcase live. I was hanging out with friends all day, and I was waiting for the bus with Tyler as I was like going through Instagram looking at all of the showcase stuff, and I saw Jade, and I started freaking out, getting excited, and then I saw the end of the trailer, and I almost threw my phone in anger. Like it was so close. It felt almost personal. I know it's not personal. Nobody at Ubisoft knows me, but it felt so personal. Like, oh my god, it's so angry.
Personal.
Hex though. Hex seems very interesting.
Yeah.
I was watching some videos about it. It may or may not be multiplayer, which is interesting. There are hints that it could be multiplayer. I'm interested in what Hex could be because it is supposed to be a very different Assassin's Creed
I
experience.
wonder if it will actually incorporate some type of magic.
That would be very interesting.
It would.
Most magic
When I think
in
about it-
Assassin's Creed is more sci-fi based.
Yeah, it is. So I was
But I would
wondering.
be very.
It makes me think of like Dishonored. Like, what if they go like a Dishonored route, where like you get magical abilities that help you with your like stealth and stuff like that.
I think that would be pretty cool.
But yeah, Disney Marvel had a showcase and showed a bunch of games that nobody cares about. But they finally announced the game that Amy Hennig, the creator and director of the first three Uncharted games, her new studio Skydance is working on, and it is a Captain America and Black Panther game, both of them together, and is currently untitled. The game is set during World War II, and you play as four characters: a 19-year-old Captain America at the beginning of his career, T'Challa's grandfather Zuri as the current Black Panther at that time, Howling Commando Gabriel Jones, and Nanali, a leader of Wakanda's budding spy network. Um, uh, I would like to see some gameplay. eventually. I don't know. I'm hoping it's gonna be good because of who's working on it. But based on what we know, well, first let me hear your opinions before we get to that point.
The concept interests me 110%. I'm very, very excited for it. You get me in a like unique game, I'm all for it.
Oh,
Like
for
something
sure.
unique.
This is very unique.
It is very, very unique. Not in a
Like you're
million
giving
years would I
us
have ever guessed
like
this
I
would be
like how
the
they're
game. But
basically giving us the best of both worlds because when you think about a Captain America video game and a Black Panther video game, ultimately they would play very similarly. They would be like Arkham style, Spider-Man style combat. And you just put those two together and you add some like maybe some stealth. Because I mean, Uncharted tends to have a little bit of stealth, but hopefully if they do stealth in this game, it will be much more developed than it was in anything like an Uncharted.
yeah,
Um
Uncharted stuff was not great. I
yeah.
forgot. I've been playing a
No.
lot of Uncharted 4 recently, like finishing off the series. Uncharted stealth isn't great. I
Yeah, it's
love
not great.
Uncharted. The stealth sections are.
Like I said,
I have to shoot my way out.
like I said, next time me and you hang out, you got to at least play like a stealth section in The Last of Us Part 2 because they know how to do stealth really well. Uncharted is just, it's not a stealth game, it's an action game.
Yeah, it's like if you played Hitman as a like shooter. Like
Yeah.
it's not meant
It's
to be
like
played that way.
they know how to do it. That's just not the game where they care to do it.
Yeah.
I would like if in the next Uncharted game they did actually try to incorporate some of the stealth stuff that they learned from The Last of Us, though, like making an actual viable option. But yeah, I hope this game's good. It sounds good. I'm not too interested in the other characters, honestly. I feel like that maybe
Yeah.
like Gabriel Jones will straight up play like Nathan Drake.
Yeah, no, I could literally care less about the Dora Milaje or the American
Yeah,
Soldier.
like I honestly wish that it was like Bucky and like somebody else. Like I don't know, Namor or like the Human Torch. Like what if this was like a what's that team called? That they're
The Invaders.
yeah, the Invaders. Like what if it was like an Invaders game except like Black Panther was a part of them.
I will straight up admit, if this Howling Commando was like Nick Fury Sr., oh, I'd be all over that.
Oh, for sure.
But it's
For sure.
but it's not. So like I it's a random no name like Howling Commando that I at least if he is in the comics, I've never heard of him
Like at
before.
the very
So
least,
I'm not really.
I think that it's gonna be a very interesting story that they're trying to tell. But last but not least, we're gonna touch on the PlayStation State of Play, and just a couple of the games. We're not gonna talk on all of them. But we're gonna start with Pacific Drive. Me and you talked a little bit about this, on our own. But it feels like a SCP road like driving game or road like as the developers put it, which was funny. And I was 50-50 on whether you like it or not because I was like, the aesthetic looks like something that's for you. And then you said that you really like, like car games. So, ultimately you said you were interested.
Yeah, it is combining a lot of things I love. I love roguelikes. I love, or I guess in this case, a roguelite. I love driving games and racing games. Those are very fun. I love the art style. I love like SCP, Eldritch, like all that sort of stuff. Um, Basically, like I said earlier when we were talking about Captain America, give me a unique game. More than likely, I'll like it. And this is very unique, very unique. I'm all for it. I'm on board.
So I can't remember if this was the game you were talking about, but I assumed it was. But you mentioned that there was also like a space game that interested you from that, and I wasn't sure if it was Stellar Blade. Stellar Blade was like the hack and slash game that was
Yeah, no, I rewatched it. It wasn't Stellar Blade.
okay.
I don't remember what the game was, but it was the other space game. It was not Stellar Blade.
I don't know what other space game was. It the one with the mechs?
No, let me go back and watch the showcase. Hold on. I'm not
Because
gonna watch the whole thing,
I
obviously.
don't remember, but while you do that, Rise of Ronin. We talked about it briefly when we were talking about the Ubisoft showcase, but it is a combat focused open world action RPG by Team Ninja, who we were just talking about as well, the studio behind Ninja Gaiden. This has been 7 years in the making and a PlayStation exclusive, and is releasing in 2024. So this will be a very polished game, hopefully. In terms of setting, it is exactly like the other game show that showcased Yakuza Ishin, except the minute to minute gameplay looks right up my alley versus that other game. It's set at the very end of the Edo period in the late 19th century. Japan is facing the darkest of times as it struggles with its oppressive rulers and deadly diseases, while Western influence permeates as civil war continues to rage. Um, so, uh, it sounds really cool. It looks really cool. There was a moment where an enemy was yanked to a rooftop by a rope dart, so I wonder if there's stealth. But it's funny. This studio, Koei Tecmo, Having this game be made by Team Ninja. That is Rise of Ronin, a Japanese game. A game that takes place in Japan. Where while they also have another game called, and this is PlayStation exclusive, and then they have another game that's not exclusive to Xbox, but is being produced by Xbox called Wolong. That is a Chinese game. I just thought that was funny. That the dichotomy, the comparison between those two. But yeah, this game looks interesting, man. It looks like it, has very Ghost of Tsushima vibes. The combat looks more like uh, I don't know if fantastical is the word, but it looks more it looks more Team Ninja like. It looks more Ninja Gaiden like, more over the top. I should say, versus something like Ghost of Tsushima, which is over the top for sure, but it takes inspiration from samurai films. But this one takes more inspiration from just like a game like Ninja Gaiden, those action games, and I'm really excited to see how that combat plays out, and then, especially in an open world. Thoughts, and also, did you find the game?
I don't think that I was paying attention during the whole showcase because it turns out it was Stellar Blade. I think I stopped, like my brain turned off
Yeah, I
halfway
thought
through
so.
Stellar Blade.
We'll go
Yeah.
back to that in a minute after you tell me what you feel about Rise of Ronin.
Rise of Ronin looks interesting. That's about all I can say. I'm
Yeah,
excited
fair
for
enough.
it, that's for sure.
So
But
Stellar
that's
Blade,
about it.
previously known as Project Eve, it's shown at the showcase. It's made by a Korean studio called Shift Up. Um, so I read the PlayStation blog, and it's described as a classic hack and slash. They don't use those words exactly. They actually go into detail, but to me, it's just like they don't say anything that screams like super unique. Is a hack and slash game, dodging, blocking, parrying, slashing, hacking. You play as Eve as she works with Adam, pretty on the nose, to save humanity from an enemy called the Natives, but it's spelled capital N, capital A, colon, lowercase Tives. It's weird. But so I got into a discussion last time that I wanted to have with you, but ended up having with my friend and coworker here. But I'm gonna have this discussion with you. It's about jiggle physics. Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. Okay, this is the last thing we talk about before we end the podcast. So, how do you feel about jiggle physics before I say what I want to say?
Jiggle physics are the best things that ever happened to
Here's
video
the
games.
thing. I agree and disagree at the same time. I hate jiggle physics, but not for the reason you think. So obviously, and this isn't the reason why I hate them, but obviously, I'm just gonna say this. They exist to cater to the male gaze and anybody who's attracted to women, and it's demeaning, little, objectifying. But you know, I'm a boo boy. I can't be mad at it too much. But also, like, I think they would be far less, one, egregious, two, they would actually look good if they were more realistic. I don't think they look good. I don't find them sexy or anything like that. I think they just look stupid. But I think they would be less noticeable, and they would be far more attractive. F. It was just a little bit more realistic, because I feel like jiggle physics have been around for like 20 years, but the jiggle physics technology has not evolved very much. And I feel like this should also include like how they move depending on what type of clothes are being worn. Like, I just feel like they gotta evolve, become better, man. You know what I mean? Just jiggle physics need to grow, and not just in size. But also, like, I feel like a lot of like fighting games lately have been, fighting games are notorious for having jiggle physics. But also, like, I feel like a lot of fighting games have been putting a lot of detail into like the flex of muscles. So I feel like jiggle physics would not only be useful for the parts that we are, but also like for like the actual like fat on other parts of the body and the way the skin deforms on other parts of the body. So ultimately, as perverted as it is, it would also help evolve other parts of how animations look in general.
This has got to be one of my favorite podcast discussions that we've ever had. We have conversations like this quite often off pod, but this is hilarious. We're leveling up.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, we'll end that uncharacteristically dirty section of the podcast right now. And just end the podcast in general. On that note, I'm Dijon. You can find my ads below me. You can find Amir's at below him. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you want to see more storytelling content, and to click the notification bell so that you're notified when we post. Peace.